Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm going to ask you to bear with me. I'm just getting over laryngitis. So I'm going to start the meeting off, and I have Councillor Mitchell ably prepared to delegate to him as chair when it fails. So good morning, councillors and everyone who's present in the chamber today and online. I'm declaring the meeting open at 9:32 and I would like to acknowledge and pay respect to the Quandamooka people, the traditional custodians of Redland's coast, and the Dangan Bullen Five Rivers people of our southern portion of the city. This meeting is being recorded on audio and video and being live streamed. In the event of an emergency or an evacuation, please remain calm and follow the directions of staff. Members of the public attending the meeting are required to comply with the standing orders. I don't think we have any issues with that today. I'm sure it's fine. We do have some councillors who have had to teleconference in for the meeting today. So I would note that Councillor Tracy Hughes and Councillor Lance Hewlett are participating in today's meeting via teleconference and are taken to be present in the meeting for the purposes of recording. We have received a request for a leave of absence from Mayor Joss Mitchell for medical reasons. Can I please have a mover and a seconder that leave of absence be granted to Councillor Mitchell? Moved Councillor Rendals, seconded Councillor Coley. Those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, there's a division. If I could just see the hands up, please. I know the people online, I heard you. So that is Councillor Boglari, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Rendals, Councillor Coley, Councillor Bishop, myself, and online Councillor Hughes and Councillor Hewlett. Those against are Councillor Mackenzie. We also have a request for a leave of absence being received from Councillor Paul Golay. Councillor Golay is a part-time serving member in the Australian Defence Force and is currently on defence leave. So can I have a mover and a seconder to allow Councillor Golay to be absent for the meeting? Moved Councillor Rendell, seconded Councillor Coley. Those in favour?
Yes.
Yes, I see your hand, Councillor Hughes. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Councillors, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already done so, to sign the attendance form, in your diligent boards. And I would like to invite Pastor Az Hamilton from the Beacon Church to come forward and lead us in a brief devotional segment. Welcome, Pastor Az.
Thanks so much for having me this morning, and good morning, Council. It's just always a privilege to be here to see those that are building this great city. And I just want to talk a little bit about building today, just because in my own life, I've decided to build a house in this city, put my roots down here after 6 years, and officially, and as I've been building and starting and laying the slab, some things sort of came to my attention about what you guys are doing for this amazing city, and was reminded of a group of people in the Bible that actually had to build from the ground up the idea of Jesus and what he did and what he could bring to a city. And it was the Thessalonians, the city of Thessalonica, second biggest city still in Greece, to Athens. And at the time, the city was only about 150,000 people, very similar to the size of the Redlands. And they came in, they had this vision for a better city because of the love of God. They had experienced the love of Jesus, the message of Jesus had died but was resurrected, and they wanted to make a change. And when they were there, they got abused a lot for wanting to make the city better. But Paul would write these letters and he would say some things to them about how they could do things. And he challenged them on how, as they lead, as a group of people leading with vision for their city, on some things. And he leaves this final little moment for them. And I want to read this because I think as someone who's still also wanting to build this city in a great way as a leader of the city, I have the best vision for the Redlands, and I know you do too. But this is what he says in 1 Thessalonians 5. He says this, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just in fact you are already doing. And so he's saying, hey, you all just encourage each other, build each other up. He says this, now we ask you, brothers and sisters, to acknowledge those who work hard among you, who care for you in the Lord and correct you. And then he says this, hold them in the highest regard and love because of their work. Live in peace with each other. And we urge you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle and disruptive, encourage and disheartened, help the weak, be patient with everyone. Make sure that nobody pays back wrong for wrong, but always strive to do what is good for each other and everyone else. I just love how he says, hey, those who are doing good work, encourage them. Just say, you're doing a great job. And he also highlights, he says, hey, and those who are working hard, make sure you tell them you're doing a great job. I just want to say, hey, thanks for doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You're working hard, but not get caught up in the stuff that doesn't matter. He sort of says, hey, encourage those who are disheartened, help the weak, and also call correction to those who aren't working hard. But there's a statement right at the end. It simply says this, but always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. Always strive to do what is good for each other and for everyone else. And my encouragement this morning is this, simply this, is that we'd be a city of encouragement, that we would see the good in what people, we can get frustrated at stuff, but you know what, this is an amazing city. What's incredible about the story of Thessalonica and the Thessalonians, if you go there today, at the time it was 150,000, it's over 1 million people there now, and everywhere you look, there's still churches and schools and foundations and community groups that are still impacted by that group of people that had common vision. They said, we want to make this a great city, and people are living in the legacy of a group of people that clearly Paul was like, hey, you've frustrated each other, but, call it out, but may you always look for the good for one another, and let's not repay evil for evil. Let's look after each other. And, that's my heart for this city. That's my heart for this city, that we would just be a city that goes, hey, let's work hard. Let's reward those that work hard. Let's always be people that know that they've worked hard. They can hand on heart know they've worked hard. As I wrap up this morning, he wraps up with his encouragement. He says this, rejoice always, so celebrate the good things, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. And so as I wrap up, I just want to pray for you and thank God for you. And I pray that you can find the good today in everything you're doing and celebrate the wins. So God, I thank you for this amazing city, the Redlands. Jesus, you love it. You call us to build. You call us to do great things. And God, in our challenges that we face today, may we always, always speak kindly. Always look for the good. Bless those that are working hard. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks for having me. See you.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, everyone. Now, we have, in this last month, lost an elder of our city who is extremely well known and has had a huge impact on our city, Mr. Dan Holesapple. And in light of my voice not being what it should be, I have asked Councillor Coley to present a memoriam for Mr. Holesapple, please.
Thank you, Chair. Daniel John Holesapple, Dan, a local Redland icon whose 103 years are remembered as we reflect on his quiet strength, deep humility, and an unwavering commitment to the community he loved. Dan passed away peacefully on 20th of June 2026, leaving behind a legacy woven into the very fabric of the Redlands. Dan was born into one of the region's pioneering families. The Holesapple settled at Mount Cotton in the late 1800s, establishing orchards and later tomato farms that helped feed the district and during the war years. Dan attended Mount Cotton School, one of only 9 students at the time, before leaving at age 11 to work on the family farm. Hard work shaped him early, and he carried that ethic throughout his life. From tomatoes and vegetables to strawberries, lettuce, and eventually turf farming, Dan helped build the agricultural foundations of Mount Cotton, Capalaba and the wider Redlands. He cleared land, grew crops, supported the war effort, and later ran one of the region's earliest turf farms. He often said he stayed in the Redlands because it was, I quote, the best area in Australia, but most of all, it's my home. And he lived that sentiment every day. But Dan's contributions extended far beyond farming. He served 3 terms as a councillor on the Redland Shire Council from 1964 to 1973, helping guide a growing community through years of change. He was active in the Chamber of Commerce, the Progress Association, the Committee for Direction of Fruit Marketing, and many other organisations that shaped the region's development. And then there was Rotary. 48 years of service, friendship, and extraordinary generosity. Dan's commitment to ending polio became one of the defining achievements of his life. After witnessing the devastating effects of the disease in South Africa in 1973, he resolved to help find a cure. Through decades of donations to the Rotary Foundation, Dan became Australia's largest individual supporter of the global effort to eradicate polio. As fellow Rotarians often said, there are children out there who can walk because of him. Dan never sought recognition, yet it found him. He received letters of congratulations from King Charles and Queen Camilla, the Prime Minister, the Premier, and the Governor-General. He was named Redland City's Citizen of the Year in 2018, an honour he insisted he didn't deserve. His humility was legendary. "I'm only an average resident of the district," he said, but everyone around him knew better. His philanthropy touched countless lives, his many contributions made on insistence of anonymity. He donated $100,000 to the Redland Foundation to build transitional housing for families escaping domestic violence. He supported the Redland Museum, where he was a dedicated member. He contributed to community organisations quietly and consistently. Dan's friends described him as reliable, kind, and steadfast, a man who did what he said he would do. A man who believed in doing the right thing. A man who made life better for others simply by being part of their world. At his 100th birthday celebration, surrounded by friends, Rotarians, and community leaders, Dan was honoured as a living legend. But he never saw himself that way. He saw himself as a farmer, a neighbour, a volunteer, someone who worked hard, lived simply, and tried to help where he could. Redlands will remember Dan as someone who lived with purpose and generosity, a pioneer of the Redlands, a devoted Rotarian, a counsellor, a philanthropist, and a humble gentleman whose impact will endure for generations, not just in the Redlands, but across the world. Dan Holzapfel gave more than most could ever hope to give. He strengthened his community, supported those in need, and helped change the world through his commitment to ending polio. He lived a remarkable 103 years, but more importantly, he lived a good life. We would ask that Redland remembers him with gratitude, carrying forward his example of service, kindness, and quiet leadership. We know his family can be comforted in knowing that Dan's legacy lives on, in the Redlands, in Rotary, and in the countless lives touched by his generosity. He truly was a remarkable Redlander.
Thank you very much, Councillor Coley. We now move on to acknowledging that we have a number of King's Birthday Honours recipients here in the chamber with us today, which is delightful. And I would like to take a moment to recognise their outstanding contributions. Because my voice is a little bit Minnie Mouse-like, I'm going to ask Councillor Peter Mitchell to do the honours for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and my pleasure. So this morning I'd like to acknowledge the dedication and outstanding contributions of the 7 Redlands Coast residents named on the 2026 King's Birthdays Honours list. These individuals that are present here today span a range of professions and areas of expertise. They all share a desire to give back, help others, and to make a positive difference in our community. So it's my pleasure to help recognise them and their achievements this morning. I don't think I'm going to ask you to stand, but if I could ask you to identify yourself as I read out your honorary piece, that might help us in the room. So Faith Baisden. Faith? There's Faith, thank you. I'd first like to acknowledge Miss Faith Baisden, who was appointed a member of the Order of Australia for significant service to Indigenous language preservation and education. Ms Baisden was a founding member and the inaugural Chief Executive Officer of First Languages Australia. Her other professional roles have included board member of Living Languages, director of Binabar Books, and Australian representative with the UNESCO International Decade of Indigenous Languages Global Task Force. She was previously a member of the Queensland Indigenous Languages Advisory Committee and a researcher and consultant for the Indigenous Languages Project at the State Library of Queensland. Ms Baisden is also a published author and illustrator. Congratulations. Professor Noel, please. Professor Noel's not with us this morning. So Professor Noel Edward Heyman has been appointed a member of the Order of Australia for significant services to medicine, particularly to Indigenous healthcare and medical education. Professor Heyman has served as Clinical Director of the Inala Indigenous Health Service since 1995 and co-founded the Southern Queensland Centre of Excellence in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander primary healthcare in 2010. His academic roles in health have included Associate Professor with the School of Medicine at the University of Queensland, Honorary Professor at the University of Queensland, and Professor at Griffith University. Mr Heyman's accolades include the 2025 Mark Sheldon Prize from the Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists and the Australian Medical Association Queensland Gold Medal. Congratulations, Professor Noel. I know Mrs Annabelle Alexander's here, so if you please raise your hand, thank you. I'd like to recognise Ms Annabelle Alexander, who has received an Order of Australian Medal for service to the arts and to the community. Mrs Alexander has been a member of the Redlands Coast Museum since 2004 and continues to play an integral role with the organisation as both the catering coordinator and the museum keyholder. She previously served as Secretary of the Museum between 2007 and 2015. Mrs Alexander has also held volunteer roles with Redlands Art Gallery, Cleveland Meals on Wheels, and University of the Third Age. She has been a member of the Redlands Arts Council since 1994 and was previously a committee member with Transplant Australia, Queensland. Her awards and recognition include a 20-year volunteer service badge from the Redlands Coast Museum and the Paul Harris Fellow Award received from the Rotary Club of Cleveland. Congratulations, Ms Annabelle Alexander. Mr Doug Alexander, the second part of the dynamic duo, has also received an Order of Australian Medal for service to the arts and to the community. Mr. Alexander has held several roles with the Redlands Coast Museum since becoming a member in 2004, including President, Vice President and Treasurer. He was also a special consultant to the Museum Management Committee and a representative of the Redlands Coast Tourism Subcommittee. His other contributions have included coaching at Redlands Rugby Union Club, volunteering with Capalaba Parkrun, and serving as a committee member with the Queensland branch of Transplant Australia. Mr. Alexander has achieved several awards and accolades for his service, including the Paul Harris Fellow, Lifetime Volunteering Award from the Rotary Club of Cleveland, and a lifetime membership with the Redlands Coast Museum. Congratulations, Doug Alexander. Is Mr. Sherrin here? Charles Sherrin? No, Mr. Sherrin isn't here. Sorry. Mr. Charles James Sherrin has received the Order of Australian Medal for service to veterans and their families. Mr. Sherrin has held numerous roles with Legacy Australia, including board member with the Legacy Veteran Culture and Communications Committee, chairperson of the Country Contact Group, coordinator for social fundraising activities, and a supporter for Vietnam widows. He has also been an expedition leader on the Kokoda Trail since 2004, where he was involved in more than 97 successful climbs. His awards and recognition include a military medal, achieved in 1970, and various other military service awards, including an Australian Active Service Medal, 1945 to 1975, with clasp, Vietnam. Congratulations, Mr. Charles James Sherrin. Mark Spicer. Thank you, Mark. I also acknowledge Mr. Mark William Spicer, who has earned an Australian Corrections Medal for distinguished service as a member of the Australian Correctional Service. Across Mr. Spicer's career, he has demonstrated a commitment to operational excellence, rehabilitation and skill development. Mr. Spicer started as a custodial correctional officer, where he gained experience in safety, security and prison supervision. He has shown a deep understanding of risk management and situational awareness across his career, and has also provided leadership to other staff. As industry supervisor, Mr. Spicer is responsible for overseeing industry's operations, ensuring compliance with workplace safety protocols, and maintaining the rehabilitative focus of prison employment. His knowledge and expertise have supported meaningful outcomes for prisoners. Congratulations, Mr. Mark William Spicer. Thank you. Mrs. Sindel Richardson, fantastic, thank you. Great to see you. Ms. Sindel Richardson has been awarded the Emergency Services Medal in recognition of distinguished service as a member of an Australian emergency service. Mrs. Richardson has made numerous contributions to the community across her many years of service with the State Emergency Service, the SES. She has demonstrated outstanding leadership during major emergency situations, including during Tropical Cyclone Alfred in 2025 and Tropical Cyclone Marcia in 2015. In her role as a search and rescue coordinator, Mrs. Richardson has managed numerous complex operations with great empathy, with skill and calmness, and also professionalism. Her other contributions have included pioneering innovative training programs, supporting SES recruitment and retention, providing community education on emergency preparedness, and mentoring the next generation of SES personnel. Congratulations, Ms. Richardson. So I congratulate all the recipients on achieving these fantastic accolades, thank them for their service and contribution to the Redlands coast. I'm not sure how the logistics of this is going to work, but we're going to definitely get you all up for a photo. And
I'm just wondering, are we doing individual photos or are we doing a group photo? Both. So if we could start with Faith. If you wouldn't mind coming up, your husband's welcome. I'm assuming husband is welcome to come also for being the photo. Yeah, if you would like, it's up to you. Come forward. You might come over this way, out of the way of the chairs. Yeah.
Where are you going to go in the middle?
Councillor Mitchell, you're welcome to come up too if you'd like. Thank you so much for everything you've done. That is a recognition from us. It's not as pretty as the beautiful awards you've already received, but we're very grateful. Oh, you haven't received them yet? Oh, well, that will be something to look forward to. Will be, yes. Some flowers for you also. You hold those? Yes, okay. Thank you. Would you like to come in and be in the photo too? I'll stand you off to the side. We'll give everyone the cards and then we'll get everyone together. We'll stand you over that way. Bear with us, everyone. It'll just take a moment. Now, who's Mr. Haywood's not here? Is that correct? Mr. Hayman's not here. So, the dynamic duo of Mr. and Mrs. Alexander. We start with Annabelle. Come on up, please. And I do promise I'm not contagious in any way.
This is two for
The two. We'll do you first because you deserve individual recognition. I don't. You don't. Do you want to do two? Two. Okay. Yes. So that is a little thank you from us for all that you do. And must be that way. And Doug, thank you, Doug, very much. And I promise I'm not contagious. I've had this thing for 3 weeks. It's just in my voice box.
Doug gets flowers as well.
Sorry? Oh, Doug gets flowers also. But yes. So, well,
They're beautiful. Congratulations.
the house will smell beautiful. We've been smelling these while we've been sitting up here, and they're absolutely beautiful. Oh,
the emblem behind you.
oh, they've got to centre us.
Sorry.
They're fussy, aren't they?
It's been years of doing this.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to
That's
photo
for
bomb.
you. Oh,
I'm going to
okay.
photo bomb in this way.
Peter's going to photo bomb.
Can you put your hand a bit higher, mate?
Yeah.
Give you those, and I'll just ask you to.
You go this way?
Yes, please. Now I think we've got Mr. Spicer next.
Yes.
Sharon's not here, and Mr. Spicer. Mr. Spicer's from the prison service. There he is. Mrs. Spicer, want to come up and be in the photo with you? Sure. That is a little recognition just to say thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
Did you want to come up and be in the photo? You're all dressed up, you've got to come and be in the photo. I was going to say, I'm sure that you'll be receiving the flowers in the longer term. Sure.
3, 2, 1.
It says these are for you.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you. I'll just ask you to wait there just for a minute. There we are. And then we've just got Sindel.
Give Sindel a photo of her own first.
Hello. Hey. Good. Lovely to see you. That's just a little thank you. Well, it's just nothing compared to everything you do, but we really appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. And get a photo.
3, 2, 1.
Would you like Doug to come up and be in a photo too?
Alex, no, he won't.
Alex, sorry.
Yeah, no, he won't. He won't.
You're being shy, are you?
Yeah, he doesn't like
Okay,
photos.
fine. All right, so I think that's everybody.
Everybody,
So we can ask everybody to come back around now and do a group photo.
I know. That's what I said to him. You've got to come up here. I'll call you my dad.
Squeeze in. You've got to be in front of the tree in the cornucopia. Come on in. There's
shuffling duck.
Keep moving.
Just hold the photo for a second. My OCD is keeping you.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1.
I know where to look.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
I'll sit on it. It doesn't feel right.
You should put some stickers on so you know who's the service.
We'll swap it back.
So once again, just to thank you so much for coming in, and we're very grateful for all that you do, and I hope you go off and have a lovely morning tea or lunch or something now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for bearing with us through all of that, everybody, but it was very, very worthwhile, and all of the huge amount of effort that goes into building our community from all of those amazing people is well worth acknowledging. So thank you. Now we go on to our other recognitions of achievement, and I understand that Councillor Peter Mitchell would like to present on the Queensland Junior State Cup.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the success of the Queensland Junior State Cup held in Redlands last weekend for the second time, and particularly the partnership that led to such great success between Queensland Touch Association and Redland City Council itself. Queensland Touch Football Junior State Cup has once again proven to be a tremendous success for Redlands Coast, with Cleveland's Redlands Showgrounds and Henry Ziegenfuss Park hosting one of the largest junior touch football events in Queensland. More than 4,400 players, coaches, referees and officials representing over 230 teams, but it'll get bigger, from affiliates stretching from Cairns to Tweed Heads converged on the Redlands for 3 days of outstanding competition, sportsmanship and community spirit. The event certainly showcased the exceptional partnership between Queensland Touch Football, Redland City Council, Redlands Touch Association, but also the volunteers, officials, local businesses in helping to deliver a professionally managed carnival. The event provided invaluable development opportunities for emerging players, referees and officials, while highlighting touch football as one of Queensland's most inclusive sports, bringing together participants and families from diverse communities across the state. Beyond the playing fields, the tournament showcased Redlands Coast to thousands of visiting families and tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people online, reinforcing our reputation as a destination of choice for major sporting events, tourism, and for future investment. while leaving a positive and lasting legacy for our community. Certainly as Divisional Councillor, but also on behalf of all council, I extend my sincere thanks to everyone involved, particularly for the outstanding one-team approach demonstrated across council. There's so many teams across council that have worked incredibly hard to support the Queensland Touch Federation to get this event over the line, but also such an incredible success. It really is a collective effort. From Parks and Conservation, working with the clubs to prepare the fields to an impressively high quality, and the Broady City Operations Group, the events team, the economic development team, community grants, and many more behind the scenes. I also acknowledge and thank my fellow councillors for their support and for their personal attendance over the weekend at some of the competition events and festivities. I'd also like to note the outstanding leadership of Queensland Touch Football Chief Executive Officer Greg Denny and Queensland Touch Football Board Chair Matthew Gilbertson, along with their staff, board members and their event team, whose collaborative approach helped to deliver a first-class event experience for participants and visitors alike. It's a team effort, but I'd like to give one team member a little extra acknowledgement. Ali Reid of our Sports and Recreation Group, our liaison officer from the Communities Group. But there's more. Ali is the primary contact and lead for the delivery of the event from a council perspective. Working with QTF, Redlands Touch and other clubs, her personal commitment, high level of ownership and hard work, on top of her qualifications and experience in sports management, of course, but importantly has built trust and credibility in council as a host of sporting events of this scale. She even marked out the site for bump-in. Was available day and night for event questions and delivered a movie night on the Wednesday for residents and visitors. Ali was well supported by Adrian Fitzpatrick, Service Manager Community Spaces, who likewise went above and beyond to support the event. So congratulations everyone, what a great event.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Councillor Mitchell. And Councillor Mitchell, I believe you have another recognition of achievement for Matthew Ingerman.
Certainly do. This is for Matthew Ingerman, staff member at Redland City Council. He was a medalist at the recent 2026 International Canoe Federation Canoe Sprint Masters World Championships. Matthew Ingerman, a valued Redland City Council employee and member of Wynnum Redlands Canoe Club, recently represented Australia at the event mentioned. This was held in Halifax, Canada. Matthew was selected as one of only 4 athletes to represent Australia at the championships, reflecting his high standard within the sport. Competing on the world stage, Matthew partnered with fellow Australian Garth Hunter in the men's 50 to 59 K2 200 metre event, where they secured a bronze medal. This contributed to Australia's successful medal tally at the championships. In addition to his success as an athlete, Matthew continues to make a significant contribution to paddle sport in Queensland through coaching and athlete development. Paddle Queensland, recently acknowledged Matthew's leadership as a coach, supporting the Queensland state team at the 2026 Paddle Australia Canoe Sprint National Championships, recognising his commitment to athlete development, team culture and performance outcomes. Matthew's achievements are a wonderful example of the talent, dedication and community spirit that exists within our organisation and of course the broader Redlands community that we are all a part of. Representing Australia and earning a World Championship medal is indeed a remarkable accomplishment, and one of which he, his club and our council can be extremely proud. Congratulations, Matt Ingerman.
And I'll just hand over to Councillor Bishop, who's got a few words to say on the Canoe Club, I believe.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to offer a recognition of achievement for youth paddlers at the Wynnum Redlands Canoe Club. And as patron of the club, which is based on Tinkalpa Creek in Thornside, I'd also like to echo Councillor Mitchell's words on Matt Ingerman's achievements. And as mentioned, Matt is a coach at the club. He has been for over 25 years, and along with other mentors, coaches, the youth at the club have recently outperformed the field in the under 16 and under 18 category at both the June school marathons, with Hayden, Hannah and Taylor each winning first place in individual K1 and K2 over 6 kilometres, and at the June state marathon, where Hannah and Phoebe finished as the best in Queensland under 16 over 12 kilometres in K1, and Hayden came first in under 18s over 15 kilometres. So every youth member of the club won gold while representing Wynnum Redlands Canoe Club. As another coach, Joel Masters, came third at the state masters competition under 45s over 18 kilometres, and Dave Masters won silver for Queensland. So along with Matt, these coaches at the Redlands Club are doing amazing things in support of our youth, while social members are also caring for the waterways of Tingalpa Creek with annual Clean Up Australia Day projects, having removed tons of debris from the creek, and they were also the initiators of the Raw on Wrecks, that's since become a statewide program for removing boats from waterways right across Queensland. It's a small club established over 50 years ago, run by a host of dedicated volunteers who are making a massive difference. So congratulations to Matt, the youth squad, coaches, committee members for all your work and success. Thank you.
Thank you. And look forward to seeing some of those young paddlers move across to canoe slalom when we've got a facility. And I'd like to come back now to Councillor Mitchell, who has one more recognition achievement on the Quampi Arts and Cultural Centre, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to recognise the Quampi Arts and Cultural Centre for winning a recent Queensland Architectural Gold Award. It's an outstanding achievement for the Cultural Centre at Gympie, Minjerribah in receiving an award for public architecture at the Australian Institute of Architects 2026 Queensland Architecture Awards. This prestigious recognition highlights the Centre's architectural excellence, cultural significance and Indigenous-led vision. The award is first and foremost a recognition of the Quandamooka people, whose culture, connection to country and enduring heritage are reflected throughout the Centre and its architecture. Quampi Director Avril Quayle described the centre as a place where Quandamooka culture is lived, shared and celebrated, and noted that the award honours the elders, artists and community members who help bring the vision to life. Kayak Chair Cameron Costello said the recognition reinforces the importance of Indigenous-led design within Australia's architectural landscape. As Divisional Council looking after Minjerribah, I know how proud that those individuals involved in that community will be and should be. Quampi has become far more than a building. It's a cultural gathering place, a centre for artistic excellence and an important gateway for visitors to learn about and experience Quandamooka culture. The centre also holds significant promise for our regional economy, supporting arts, culture and tourism, while strengthening Minjerribah's reputation as a destination of national significance. Through its programs, exhibitions and cultural experiences, Quampi creates opportunities for artists, cultural practitioners and local businesses while enriching the visitor experience. Looking towards Brisbane 2032 Olympics and the decade beyond, Quampi is exceptionally well placed to gain international recognition. Its unique architectural qualities, strong connection to place and authentic cultural expression provide an opportunity to showcase the Quandamooka culture to the world and establish Minjerribah as Australia's most distinctive cultural destination. It's not only a recognition of the architecture, but it's also a signal of the remarkable future ahead. Well done, Quampi and the designers.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Now we can move on to receipt and confirmation of minutes. So firstly, if we could have a mover and a seconder, please, for the minutes of the general meeting from the 17th of June. To be confirmed, moved Councillor Mackenzie, seconded Councillor Rendals. Did you want to speak to the minutes? Are there any matters of correctness? No. With that, I'll put the vote. Those in favour?
Yes.
And I can see online, so that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the special budget meeting dated the 30th of June 2026? Moved Councillor Bishop, seconded Councillor Mackenzie. Did you need to speak to it?
All in order, thanks.
Thank you. All those in favour? Right, I can see Councillor Hughes and Councillor Hewlett's vote indicated on the screen. So with that, that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors.
Sorry, point of order, Chair.
Yes.
My understanding in the standing order is that they have to verbally respond, that it's insufficient to just put their hand up.
Yes.
I think that if I can see if they're indicating to me and I note it verbally on their behalf, I take some advice from officers, but that is substantive enough.
The standing orders does state at 6.4.5a that the councillor has to be in audio contact with each other person at the meeting.
Well, they are in audio contact. If I need to ask a question, I can. I'll take advice.
If the council is raising any doubt, certainly a verbal recognition of the vote is conclusive of the question.
So it's sufficient for me to note that it's been indicated, and if for some, if I've not interpreted that correctly, they can speak up. Yes, thank you. Yes. Thank you, councillors. I hope online you've understood that. You can continue to do what you're doing, and I'll confirm verbally. If I've not interpreted your vote correctly, you can speak up and let me know. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Lance. Thanks, Tracy. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hewlett and Councillor Hughes. We now move to public participation, and I know we've got Mr Hughes waiting patiently in the back there. So, councillors, can I have a mover and a seconder that the meeting standing orders be suspended for 5 minutes, public participation segment, to allow the member of the public, in this case it's Mr Kevin Hughes, to address council on a matter of public interest to the local government. Moved Councillor Bishop, seconded Councillor Boglari. All those in favour? I have Councillor Hewlett in the affirmative and Councillor Hughes in the affirmative, so that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr Hughes. I'll get you to come up to the lectern. I just have to ask you, Mr Hughes, please, to ask you to state your name and the suburb or organisation which you represent and the subject which you wish to address council on today, and to note that the meeting is being recorded and this will go into both the minutes and be published on the council's website.
Kevin Hughes. I'm a Macleay Island resident, and I would like to talk today about environment within the Redland City Council district.
Go ahead, thank you.
Acting Mayor, CEO, councillors and councillor staff. I would like to talk about the environment within the Redland City boundaries. An executive summary as a previous Redland Coast 2024 Australian Day winner in the category of Environment and Sustainability and founder of Endangered Species Supporters Australia, and a very strong knowledge on the internal workings of the famous Palau Pledge, I would like to present this summary to look at protecting our environment within Redlands around our islands, which are listed as marine parks. I understand the Council has a similar version of this initiative. This version proposes the development of a community-led initiative known as the Redlands Visitor Pledge Initiative, Inspired by the internationally recognised Palau Pledge, the initiative seeks to encourage residents and visitors to actively participate in protecting the natural environment, respecting cultural heritage and strengthening community stewardship throughout the Redlands. The proposal recommends the implementation of a 12-month pilot program developed collaboratively between the Redland City Council, the Quandamooka people, schools, community organisation, tourism operators, veterans group and residents. The initiative aims to establish Redlands as a leader in community-driven environmental stewardship while creating a practical framework that may be expanded throughout the broader Moreton Bay catchment over time. The vision: to create a community-owned pledge that encourages every visitor and resident become an active steward of the Redlands environment, culture and community. Why Redlands? The Redlands possesses some of Australia's most valuable natural and cultural assets, including the Moreton Bay marine ecosystem, internationally significant wetlands, coastal and inland environments, rich biodiversity, strong community identity, the enduring culture heritage of the Quandamooka people. As visitor numbers continue to grow, so does the opportunity to foster responsible tourism and environmental stewardship. The Redland City Council is uniquely positioned to become a national leader in this field. Conclusion: the Redlands Visitor Pledge Initiative presents an opportunity to create a lasting legacy for the community. It is a practical, positive and collaborative approach to environmental stewardship that places community ownership, cultural respect and future generations at its centre. The proposal is not simply about tourism. It is about protecting the places we love, strengthening our community and ensuring that future generations inherit a Redlands that is vibrant, respected and cared for by all who live here and visit. Can I ask the Council to consider the next step where a program can be developed towards holding a 12-month pilot program? I would also like to offer my services pro bono as a project advisor and assist the Council for this very important environmental project to advance the next stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Hughes. Thank you, councillors. Can I have a motion to close the public participation segment and resume meeting standing orders? Moved Councillor Coley, seconded Councillor Bishop. Those in favour? Just waiting on Councillor Hewlett. I see you're in the affirmative.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Hughes is in the affirmative also, so that's unanimously carried. Thank you. We have no petitions or presentations of which I'm aware today. I'm not aware of any requests to alter the order of business. So I'll hand over to the CEO to run through any matters outstanding from previous general meetings.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everybody. There are several items that are outstanding from the general meetings of the past, but I'll run through those. Item 9.1, the draft Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation Consultation Report. A report addressing this matter is listed on today's agenda at item 15.1. The next item that is outstanding is item 9.2, the Birkdale Community Precinct. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.3, Cleveland Town Centre Revitalisation Project Update. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.4, Potential Property Disposals at Capalaba. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. On item 9.5, the petition to request to amend Council's animal management laws regarding miniature goats. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 9.6, the notice of motion from Councillor Jason Colley in relation to customer experience policy for residents affected by persistent water supply issues. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. And item 9.7, proposed acquisition of land Birkdale. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CEO. Councillors, we now come to the point of any declarations of interest. Do I have anyone who needs to declare a declaration? No? No? Then I do, so I will do mine if no one else needs to do one. So, councillors, we have a matter today regarding the Rural Fire Service Levy and the local area funding committee. I have a perceived conflict of interest in that, as I've been deeply involved with Rural Fire for a number of years. So I am going to just note that I have that perceived conflict of interest at 13.4 on Rural Fire Service, and that is because I am an unpaid volunteer firefighter in the RFS. I am an elected member as an officer supporting community safety and community education through the RFS, and I am known publicly in my role as a councillor being a long-term advocate for rural fire services in our city. I believe I can remain in the meeting to both participate in debate and take the vote on the matter in the public interest, and that's my declaration. I will participate in the discussion and decision-making. I will remain in the meeting and vote in the public interest. My involvement and support in the community service of the RFS is well known and declared and does not represent a personal material interest and aligns with the need in decision-making in the public interest. Thank you. Now, councillors, with that, my voice is leaving, so I am going to delegate the chairing of the rest of the meeting over to Councillor Mitchell and do a little bit of a musical chairs, if you'll bear with us for 1 minute. Thank you.
We don't want an identity crisis. No, thank you, Acting Mayor. Now I've got the folder. And thank you for delegating the meeting over. It's indeed a privilege. Moving on to item 11, mayoral minutes. I'm unaware that there's no mayoral minute today. No. That brings us to items 12, reports from the Office of the CEO. There are no reports from the Office of the CEO. Moving to 13, item 13.1, the interim June 2026 monthly financial report. Do I have a mover for the Officer's recommendation or any other motion? Councillor Baglari. Do I have a seconder? Yep. Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Baglari, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you. As with every monthly financial report, this document represents a point-in-time update. This particular report should be considered more as a snapshot, as the finance team is still working through the end-of-year figures. Being the final one, however, I would like to acknowledge our financial staff for their rigour and efficiency, as this year I have seen innovation and a determination from the team to improve accountability and transparency, including clarity. Our officers continue to deliver monthly financial reporting throughout the year so that Council receives this reporting in the most timeliness fashion, and this is no mean feat. Noting that this is underpinned by rigorous processes and proactive and accountable monitoring, and apparently not every council gets theirs in such a timely manner. More broadly, I would like to recognise the team's work and initiatives planned for progression in the coming financial year. Council is continuing to mature financial processes to respond to and proactively manage the constant changes and challenges presented by the global and domestic financial challenges which are being felt in private sectors as well as locally and internationally. The team are continuing to build on a strong focus on the process, rigour, value for money and the prioritisation of expenditure, as well as strong governance arrangements for financial oversight of all aspects of our council expenditure. These frameworks will support going forward improved efficiencies and productivity. In addition to these new efficiency and accountability measures, the finance team is also working on a design of a refreshed monthly financial report to improve readability, consistency and clarity. And I thank you on behalf of councillors and the community for this. I believe the team deserves financial end-of-year recognition, as their work often goes unnoticed while they quietly support every area of council. As I said when I became Folio Chair for Finance, there is no area more vital to the sustainability of council than finance, and our team have certainly been working consistently throughout the year on their business as usual, as well as innovative changes. Having said that, the interim report will be updated through the final end-of-year financial figures, which will be presented to us in October, once the annual financial statements and external audit process have been completed. I didn't want to finish off the last financial year without acknowledging the work that they have done this year and the further ongoing changes for improvement that they are going to instigate coming. And I will now pass to the CFO if she would like to talk to this interim report.
No worries. General Manager.
Through you, Chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the interim June monthly report, and for reporting purposes to reconfirm the revised budget reflects the second budget review as approved in the May general meeting. As expressed by Councillor Boglari, this report is acknowledged as the June interim report, which represents the preliminary year-end results and is subject to completion of the annual financial statements and the external audit process that takes place. As outlined in the executive summary, further adjustments are anticipated for both revenue and expenditure accruals, asset revaluation and impairment assessments, and adjustments to depreciation and balance sheet provisions as part of these financial year-end finalisation activities. Overall, I would note that in the interim results, the recurrent revenue favourable budget variance of $4.9 million is largely related to higher bulk water consumption than anticipated through the second budget review update, the advanced receipt of higher than anticipated annual financial assistance grant prepayment, stronger investment earnings than anticipated, and other items such as increased insurance and other recoveries. In turning to section 1, the executive summary within the attachment, all key financial results have a favourable status for the interim results, though I note this includes the underspend in the capital works expenditure year to date, or for the full year for this preliminary result, which is covered further in this update. Also, as outlined within the report and the attachment, the interim June operating deficit of $1.3 million is expected to be a temporary result subject to the finalisation of the accounts, as I have mentioned just now. With regards to the higher than budgeted cash balances, this is largely reflected of the receipt of capital grant funding, which will be recognised as revenue in the accounts in 26-27 financial year, in line with our accounting standards, and the lower capital expenditure than forecast. In turning to section 2, the key performance indicators, all are meeting or exceeding their indicators, with the exception of the operating surplus ratio as a result of the operating deficit that we see in the results, and the asset sustainability ratio. The asset sustainability ratio has continued to increase through the financial year, with this report resulting in a ratio of 54.36%, an increase of 2.4% from May's results. In looking in section 3, the statement of comprehensive income, just to draw out some key items there, aside from the water consumption charges and other recoveries I spoke to just before, the recurrent revenue line items are materially reflecting alignment with the forecast presented through the revised budget. In looking at the capital revenue section, there is a $4.5 million favourable variance for non-cash contributions, and this is due to the accounting recognition of developer contributed assets. This is slightly offset by lower than anticipated capital grant revenue, which has been impacted by delays in the completion of works associated with the grants, and the capital grant revenue items will be considered and reflected in the carryover or subsequent budget reviews as appropriate. In looking at key expense items, the material variances for recurrent expenses mainly relate to materials and services and other expenses. The favourable overall variance for materials and services is $3.7 million, and that's mainly within a $7.4 million favourable variance in contractors, as can be seen on the next page, which has the materials and services analysis table. This will be subject to those end of financial year activities taking place, as I have also mentioned. However, there are some other factors which have affected the results, including the delay of activities and works due to recent wet weather, particularly throughout May, offsets with other expense categories due to changes in how the work has been delivered, and lastly, the continuing effort of the organisation to deliver efficiencies and saving targets. In looking at section 4, the capital expenditure, as mentioned in the executive summary section, capital expenditure is $35.3 million behind the budgeted forecast in the interim report. As has been discussed previously, ongoing and more recent wet weather has contributed to this, and analysis is underway as to proposed carryover considerations for the capital works program, with deliverability and forecasting remaining a significant focus for the organisation with respect to delivering the capital works programs. Just briefly on section 5, which is the statement of financial position or balance sheet, the significant variance is in the cash balances, as I mentioned at the beginning of the update, mainly related to the receipt of those capital grant revenues and the lower than budgeted capital expenditure spend. You may also see in the other current liabilities line, the actuals are $34.2 million higher than budget, and that is directly related to the receipt of capital grants, which we are not able to reflect as revenue as yet according to the accounting standards, and that's where they sit within the balance sheet itself. In closing, if I refer to section 12, which contains the additional and non-financial information, year-on-year rates debtors have remained comparable, with 3.3% overdue in June 2026 to 3.2% in June 2025. As I've mentioned previously, officers continue to advocate for any ratepayer who has any type of inquiry at all about their rate account or are experiencing payment challenges to contact council for information and assistance. In summing up through you, Chair, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the interim June financial report.
Thanks for a comprehensive report. Any speakers against? Councillor Colley?
Chair, I don't wish to speak against, but are you taking comments? Can I make comment?
I'd prefer not today, just in the interest of good meeting order. So thank you very much. I'll say no on this occasion. Thank you very much. Councillor Baglari, would you care to sum up? Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. Just one question. With regards to this page 27 of Diligent. Anyway, it was regarding the lower than expected capital grant revenue delay that was due to delays in completion of works. Have we then foregone that grant funding, or we'll get it when we complete those projects?
Through you, Chair, thank you, Councillor, for the question. No, we have not foregone the grant revenue. It's tied to delivery or milestones of those capital works, and that's where we'll recognise that grant revenue when the milestone delivery has occurred.
Thank you. In interest today for questions as well as I mentioned with comments, if they are questions that you've already asked and had information provided to you, then just in a courtesy to the room and an efficient meeting, if you don't need to ask them publicly, please don't. You can provide that information anywhere else you wish, but just to keep it moving along today. So if there's no further questions, Councillor Baglari is the mover. No need to sum up? No? With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those on?
Aye.
Councillor Hewlett in favour?
Yes.
Councillor Hughes in favour. It's unanimous. So we move on to item 13.2, the Audit and Risk Management Committee. Do I have a move of the office recommendation or any other motion? Councillor Baglari, do I have a seconder? Councillor Bishop. Councillor Baglari, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. And I'm pleased to present the minutes of the ARMC meeting held on the 4th of June. It was rather an extensive agenda, and once again it was great to see quite a few councillors that came along as observers. The committee continued its oversight of Council's governance, risk management, financial sustainability and insurance activities, with a strong focus on organisational resilience and continuous improvement. The committee received the CEO's report, which provided updates on major strategic projects, implementation of the new corporate plan, governance initiatives and emerging organisational risks. Particular attention was given to supply chain and fuel disruption risks, waste management, major project delivery and preparations for upcoming legislative reforms. The committee also considered the digital transformation program. While implementation timeframes have been adjusted to better align with organisational capacity and business readiness, the program remains within approved budget and continues to progress under robust governance arrangements. This is a huge project, and I think a shout out to the staff who are implementing it is well deserved. To strengthen oversight, the committee requested additional reporting on benefits realised. The committee completed its annual self-assessment, confirming that it continues to operate effectively while identifying opportunities to further strengthen strategic risk oversight, organisational culture and governance values. The committee received updates on ethics and integrity, enterprise risk management and legal and governance matters. The committee also noted Council's ongoing work to strengthen business continuity plans in response to emerging risks. From an insurance perspective, 2 audits were completed during this quarter. The Birkdale Community Precinct audit found that governance and project management arrangements were generally effective while identifying opportunities to strengthen project assurance and risk management. The Safety in Design audit confirmed appropriate governance frameworks were in place, with recommendations to further embed consistent design risk management practices across infrastructure projects. The committee also requested a follow-up report on implementation of the Birkdale audit recommendations. The committee approved the 26-27 internal audit plan, which adopts a risk-based approach aligned to Council's strategic priorities. Financially, Council continues to maintain a sound position with favourable operating results and cash balances reported for April 26, while acknowledging ongoing monitoring of the long-term financial sustainability through the annual budget process. Finally, the committee received briefings from the Queensland Audit Office on external audit matters. Overall, the committee is satisfied that Council continues to strengthen its governance, risk management and insurance frameworks while maintaining effective oversight of strategic risks, financial sustainability and organisational performance. It was a huge agenda, and credit to all the officers that put in the work that goes, I'm also losing my voice, shout out to the officers also that put in the amount of work that goes to the reports. As the CEO knows, it's a lot of in-depth, behind-the-scenes work before it gets to the committee. So thank you to everybody and to the external members on the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Baglari. Any speakers against? No? Excellent. Councillor Baglari, any need to sum up? Go with that. Put the motion. Those in favour? Councillor Hewlett, acknowledged as yes?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, yes.
Councillor Hughes, acknowledged yes. That's unanimous. Move to item 13.3, the update to the Audit and Risk Management Committee policy and charter. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or any other motion? Councillor Baglari. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Colley. Councillor Baglari, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you. The ARMC Charter, which operates in conjunction with the ARMC policy, is reviewed every 2 years to ensure it remains effective and contemporary, supporting compliance with legislative and regulatory requirements and promoting strong governance practices, risk management and organisational oversight. The ARMC has endorsed proposed updates to these documents, which are now presented today to Council for a formal approval. The proposed changes outlined on page 58 of the agenda include improved clarity of roles and responsibilities, a strengthened focus on outcomes and continuous improvement, and a closer alignment with Council's strategic objectives. The previous agenda item demonstrated the breadth and quality of work undertaken by the ARMC while supporting Council and reinforcing public accountability to Council, ratepayers and other stakeholders. The updated charter also provides a clearer delineation between the ARMC's oversight role and management's operational responsibilities. It also clarifies that the ARMC oversight extends to Council and Council-controlled entities while excluding the conduct and decision-making of elected officials. As the policy statement on page 61 notes, the ARMC supports Council by focusing on matters of highest risk and impact and by providing assurance that governance, risk management, internal control and performance arrangements remain effective and fit for purpose in supporting the delivery of Council's strategic objectives.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Hewlett, for the final comment.
We've got a little acknowledging cheer online. Thank you, Councillor McGlary. Are there any speakers against? No? Thank you for that. Is Councillor McGlary any summing up required? Well, terrific. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Acknowledged as yes, Councillor Yu.
Yes.
Acknowledged yes, Councillor Hewlett. Myself included. That's unanimous. Leave that on. Item 13.4, the council nomination to the Rural Fire Brigade Local Area Finance Committee. My understanding is there may be a modified motion. So, Councillor Mackenzie?
Yes, and apologies that this wording has only literally just been sent through, but I would like to move an alternate motion, which has literally just been emailed, and again, I apologise. That Council resolves not to nominate a councillor to represent Redland City Council on the Rural Fire Brigade Local Area Finance Committee and requests that councillors be permitted as an option to attend committee meetings in an observer capacity, and B, that Council notes that while the Rural Fire Service Procedure D3.2.1 Local Area Finance Committee provides for councillor representation, there is no requirement under the Local Government Act 2009 for a councillor to be appointed to the committee.
Okay, thank you for that. Noting that we did have that this hasn't been landed on us immediately. There has been a fair bit of debate amongst us all. However, it is the motion before us. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Colley? So with that, we have a live motion. So the mover, Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly on what the Local Area Finance Committee does. Redland City Council collects a levy for the Rural Fire Service, and the Local Area Finance Committee distributes those funds to our Rural Fire Service Brigade. So it's a governance oversight to ensure that those funds are collected and distributed in a manner that it is appropriate. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any speakers against?
Question.
Is it a question that you've been able to ask or have answered already?
Well, quite frankly, we've just received this specifically.
No. So that's a no. So happy with that then, Councillor Bishop?
Yeah, so I believe this is a question through to officers. Just in regard to this, and I do appreciate that there has been some discussion around it, but now that we see it, I just wanted to ask, is there any function on that statutory recommendation that a councillor should be on the committee that might arise where information or feedback from the council through the councillor would be likely to be required? I ask that, I suppose, through the chair to Mike Tate, I would say, or whoever's the most appropriate officer, knowing that generally having a councillor there as a representative, and now that this is a citywide fund that is supporting the rural fire, I just wondered if there's any mechanism or requirement for that, and whether we should institute something at this point. I'm sure we could adapt it going forward if necessary, but...
No problem. So
thanks.
Thank you for that. And so recognise Mike Tate.
Through Chair, thank you. Firstly, it's not a statutory committee, so there's no legislative requirement for a councillor to be on that committee. It's part of their procedure. It's been included in the procedure as a way to provide councillors with an opportunity to actually have a voice on that committee. So if there is a concern that the councillor wishes to raise, they can raise that through the committee. The councillor, though, does not have a voting right, so ultimately it's up to the committee to take that information on board and do with it as they see fit.
Right. I'm very happy with our representation through yourself, and know that with this proposal that we could all express views if necessary. So thank you for the answer. Thanks, Chair.
So we had no speakers against, so that's back to the move of the motion. Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to sum up?
Just to note that procedure has been in place for quite a number of years, and no councillor has sat on this committee previously, and that the committee has functioned very well with the representation of our council officers, and I do thank them for that representation. I know that they're representing council's interests and the city's interests with regards to how those funds are distributed. Thank you.
No worries. And before we put the motion, I'd just like to again just thank our rural fire services for the great work they do, and all our other emergency services, which we were acknowledged today as well. So with that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Acknowledging the two councillors online, Councillor Hughes and Hewlett, as yes, that's unanimous. Moving to item 13.5, the 2026-27 annual contracting plan. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation or any other motion? Don't rush the chair. Councillor Mackenzie, moved. The seconder. Councillor Baglari. Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just that it's a legislative requirement for us to adopt a contracting plan each financial year, and this also just gives the market confidence in the work that we're proceeding with over the year, and then they can see what it is that we're doing, and they can put in tenders and plan their work ahead for the year too. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes. Yes.
Councillor Hughes and Hewlett acknowledged. That is also unanimous. Apologies, no microphone. Section 14, reports from Community and Customer Services. Item 14.1, that's a new lease for the Redlands Cricket Incorporated. Do I have a mover? Councillor Baglari, seconder Councillor Colley. Councillor Baglari, would you like to speak to the motion?
Only to say that I want to thank the officers. The club came back to me saying that they were extremely professional and helpful while discussing the new lease. It's an amazing club, so supportive of our community, both female and male teams, and I thank the officers for working with the club, and looking forward to many years of them remaining there.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against? No? Excellent. I'll also note, I think part of the lease is for new female change rooms as well. So it's the rise and rise of women's sport is fantastic. With that, we'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those online? Councillor Hughes? Yes, that's also unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Moving to item 14.2, the major amendments to the city plan. Do I have a move for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Mackenzie, seconder, yes, Councillor Tolti. Councillor, would you like to speak to the motion? Or I understand there's also the General Manager who might wish to present? I don't mind which order we do it in. Do you have a preference as the mover?
I'll speak first, if that's okay.
Fire away.
And I won't labour over the finer details of the amendment because it has been before these chambers on a number of occasions and it's been in train for quite a number of years. But what I do want to highlight is the public engagement and the changes that have been made in response to that consultation. So Council undertook meaningful consultation that included, a public notice that was published in the Government Gazette, display of the public notice, amendment packages and fact sheet at Council's 3 customer service centres, posters in Council libraries, a dedicated website on Council's Your Say platform, social media posts, opportunities to contact Council's Strategic Planning Unit, letters sent to relevant stakeholders including Raby Bay Residents Association and Aquatic Paradise Residents Association, specific landholders within the LDR 5 precinct, Kayak, Urban Development Institute of Australia, landholders directly impacted by zone change proposals and private building certifiers who had lodged applications for secondary dwellings with Council within the last 2 years. And at the close of that consultation period, the Your Say webpage recorded 1,800 views and 4 in-person meetings held with the Strategic Planning Unit. So following on from that consultation, the major amendment residential received 40 properly made and 2 not properly made submissions, although the not properly made submissions were still considered. And the major amendment non-residential, there were 7 properly made submissions. And with regards to the changes, most of the respondents were regarding the LDR 5 precinct, and I really appreciate, and I know Councillor Mitchell really appreciates that community becoming very actively engaged in that consultation and sending in their feedback. The majority of the the majority of the respondents to the changes to the LDR 5 precinct were in relation to the 600 metre square minimum lot size, which there was significant support for, and just retaining the 2 metre setback with regards to maintenance along the revetment walls. Also, too, what I'll note is one of the significant changes too is that just some of the language that we had in the amendment was very prescriptive in terms of emerging community zones, that it was very prescriptive that there had to be 25 dwellings per hectare. And that has now it's been lifted up to understanding that our emerging community zones now are in the outer parts of the city where there are environmental constraints, and achieving that density would be very challenging. So with this not being so prescriptive and it going up to those 25 dwellings, it allows still for those 400 square, well, essentially it works out to 400 square metre lot sizes. But when you take into consideration that there is a range of dwelling types in an emerging community zone in terms of, low density residential, low medium density residential and medium density residential, you get those varying lot sizes and different dwelling types. So I think that is a positive outcome, that it's not so prescriptive with that. But if a council officer, if we do have someone from our planning team who would like to present any other additional information, I'm happy for them to do that. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm very happy to have one of the officers from the area come up and present, just really filling in any of the gaps. Really appreciate the councillor's summary of things there, and particularly the extra expertise as the portfolio chair. That's appreciated.
Thank you, Chair. There's really not much to add. I think Councillor Mackenzie has done a phenomenal job in summarising the amendment. But just to say, these are amendments that have been in train for a number of years. They're not new to Council. We've been through a very rigorous process on a number of occasions, including state interest review. So they are now with you for your consideration to present back to the Minister for adoption. Thank you.
No worries. And sorry, I should have acknowledged Group Manager David Jeans when he came to the microphone. Are there any speakers against? Fantastic. Councillor Mackenzie, any comment to sum up? Are there any questions that haven't already had the opportunity to be asked and answered before the meeting? No?
No, I don't need to sum up. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. With that, I'll move the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Two councillors online acknowledged. That is unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. Move to item 14.3, the major amendment for Minjerribah. Do I have a mover and for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Mackenzie, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Colley, acknowledged. Councillor Mackenzie, do you need to speak to this item at all?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This really is just an administrative process to close out a previous ministerial direction that is no longer in effect. So the original ministerial direction came into effect in September 2020 to make a temporary local planning instrument over 25 properties on North Stradbroke Island. During public consultation on that TLPI, there were 528 submissions received, which is a phenomenal response. And only 4 of those submissions fully supported the proposed amendment. So since the TLP was made, it lapsed and was remade twice without the state addressing any of the concerns that was raised during that public consultation. So it lapsed again back in September 2025, and the new state government chose not to remake it for reasons that are outlined in attachment 2 of the report. If anyone wants to read that, I won't go through them now. So with the TLPI no longer in effect, council is unable to continue with the amendment. But just regarding land use and planning on North Stradbroke Island, Minjerribah, moving forward, Councillor Mitchell and I have met with our planning officers to discuss what land opportunities can be realised on the island through the development of our new city plan, understanding that there are very considerable environmental and infrastructure constraints, but really do need to address probably how we can encourage some more key worker housing, which is desperately needed on the island. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against? Thank you. I'll make a quick comment, a little bit divisional here. I'm so proud of the Minjerribah community for those submissions that they made for the TLPI, but also reflecting on the major amendment that we've just moved, with 40% of the citywide submissions coming from the Raby Bay and Aquatic Paradise residents. So I say this just to remind the community that your voices are heard and they do inform decisions. And as we move forward to review of our city plan or any state planning opportunities that you get to comment on, please do. So well done, the Div 2, but also encourage the whole city to get involved on planning matters. Really does shape your future. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Sorry, opportunity to sum up.
No, thank you.
Apologies for that. With that, put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Acknowledging the 2 councillors online, that is unanimous. Item 14.4, the Local Government Association of Queensland Annual Conference motions. Do I have an officer's recommendation for, a move for the officer's recommendation or other motion? Councillor Mackenzie, seconder Councillor Tolchi. Councillor Mackenzie, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just noting too that dot point 3 kind of feels a bit egotistical that I've moved the motion that my name is to go into dot point 3 as a proxy delegate. I will be attending the LGAQ conference this year, so happy to step into that role if needed. In speaking to this motion, I'm going to quote Helen Keller. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And the purpose of the LGAQ, that is the purpose of the Local Government Association of Queensland, is to bring together the 77 councils of Queensland and present a united voice in advocating for local government. This year, Redland City Council is proposing 6 motions at the LGAQ conference in October. 3 of those motions relate to unfair funding to local government that impact our ratepayers. Cost shifting to councils has reached $360 million a year in Queensland alone. This is not financially sustainable. And 3 motions that relate to unfair funding are returning Queensland State School car park maintenance and renewals to the Department of Education, equitable financial and tenure arrangements between state and local government, and state funding support for operational costs associated with CCTV infrastructure. it's not our responsibility to look after state schools. That's the responsibility of the Department of Education and the state government, and they should be the ones that maintain and repair that infrastructure. It's not fair that we have to pay the state rent, especially for critical infrastructure. So we spend a lot of money in rent for the land that our Cleveland wastewater treatment plant is on, yet the state does not have to pay rates for schools or hospitals, and that's just not fair. We also maintain all their reserves that are in our care as well, at a considerable cost to ratepayers. With regards to the CCTV infrastructure, it's all good and well for the state to make election promises to install CCTV, but that's not where the greatest cost is. The greatest cost is actually the operating that infrastructure. And that then is, it's great for them to make these election promises, but then we cop the burden of having to then implement that and then fund that ongoing. 2 other motions relate to improving processes and sensitivity in the event of the death of a loved one. And the 6th motion is asking for extended timeframes for grant applications to be submitted for Queensland Youth Week events. All great motions when we do hope that they all get up. I do know that Logan City Council has indicated strong support for the equitable financial and tenure arrangements between state and local government. So thank you.
Thank you for that summary. Any speakers against? Fantastic. Any need to quickly sum up, Councillor?
No, thank you.
All happy? Terrific. With that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Yes. Acknowledging the 2 councillors online, that is unanimous. We move to 15.1, the Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation Report. Do I have a mover for the Councillor Colley with a voice? Someone moving. Councillor Tolty seconding. Councillor Colley, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that Council resolves as follows. 1, to note the contents of this report regarding the final Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation Decision Notice. 2, to note the Chief Executive Officer's existing delegation to make the local government infrastructure designation. And 3, to note that officers will continue to progress implementation of the Birkdale Community Precinct Master Plan using the Local Government Infrastructure Designation Decision Notice as the statutory planning framework, including the preparation and submission of a gazettal notice. This is a really significant milestone in the development of what will be the Redlands' most important community precinct. The Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation, or LGID as we refer to it, has been made in accordance with what is the standard planning process for a project of this nature. And that comes under section 37(6) of the Planning Act 2016 and in accordance with Planning Regulation 2017 and the Minister's Guidelines and Rules. It effectively sets out a whole of precinct planning approval framework, a streamlined pathway for delivery, and certainty for infrastructure planning, design and staging. The LGID also establishes land uses and development parameters aligned with the Birkdale Community Precinct Master Plan and, more importantly, community and stakeholder aspirations. Regarding the Master Plan, the decision notice provides a range of compatible primary land uses and associated ancillary activities. The defined primary land use is the community infrastructure category designated for the precinct in accordance with Schedule 5 of the Planning Regulation 2017. The community infrastructure uses and ancillary activities permitted under this infrastructure designation include community and cultural facilities, emergency services facilities, facilities for park and recreation, sporting facilities, and storage and work depots, which will all be of benefit to residents and visitors alike. The local government infrastructure designation also sets out requirements determined by the state government under which future development at the old Cleveland Road East site is to be carried out. These include conditions around fauna management, vegetation management, rehabilitation monitoring plan, public passenger transport, active transport, external works, emergency access, event transport management, design, lighting, and construction management. I'm sure we can all agree that there has been great consideration and there's a lot of detail and requirements on council in delivering this precinct. The process of developing this LGID has been thorough and it has been well considered, with today's report coming to us after several years of work from our team and some of the state's best subject matter experts to ensure everything is in order. At council, in addition to the work of council officers, the best external legal and statutory planning advisors have provided assistance to ensure there are no issues with either the conditions of the LGID or the process itself. Thank you to all who have provided input into the LGID over a long period of time, including the community members who took part in the earlier consultation phase. Councillors, a great deal of work has been done on the Birkdale Community Precinct, and with your support for this motion today, we can move one step closer to delivering this exciting project for our community.
Councillor speaks against.
Thank you. Given the significance of this
Are
project...
you speaking against, Councillor Bishop?
I would like to ask the Chair, if I may, if the officers would be able to do a brief overview and describe how the LGID relates to the master plan, if given the significance of the project, if that's something that would be appropriate.
Are there any speakers against first up?
Well, I'd like to hear that if it's possible. But
Councillor, I'm the Chair. Are there, just sticking with standing orders, are there speakers against? So you're not speaking against, you've made it. Councillor Bishop would like to speak against.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I want to thank very much the officers for time spent answering a range of questions. But given that this is a new planning framework for Redland City Council, I want to place on the public record why I will not be voting in support of this final local government infrastructure designation report today. My reasons are not because I oppose strategic planning, quite the opposite, nor because I oppose future investment in this site. My concern is around governance, stewardship and sequencing. This is a very important property for our city. Council did not create the extraordinary values on this site, we inherited them when this site passed into public ownership for council. Those values include nationally recognised environmental values, thousands of years of First Nations history, one of the oldest surviving timber homesteads from pioneers with a dairy, and nationally significant wartime telecommunications heritage on a constrained site that does remain uniquely undeveloped because of the mosaic of events over time. I believe our responsibility as councillors is not simply to deliver infrastructure, it's to ensure that these inherited site values are respected in ways that guide every decision we make. And I know that good work has been done on that front, but I believe that planning should begin with the values in place and not just simply engineering of the project to manage those. The principle is reflected in these principles are reflected in the Local Government Act through good governance, transparent decision making and meaningful community engagement. In April, this council unanimously agreed that further work should be undertaken before implementation decisions progressed. We requested further reporting on project delivery, identifying elements of the master plan proposed for lead up to 2032, on financial modelling and legacy planning to make sure that various projects are all being considered appropriately and through various just making sure that that's all being done in a way that's transparent and open and publicly visible. Cultural, environmental and heritage management, and also consultation and co-design with our community. And that includes the inclusion of the social activation framework, which is going to be critical to the activation of this site going forward for our community. That report has not yet come before Council, yet I believe it would allay many concerns that residents have, and which I believe are shared with some councillors. And I think it's...
Councillor Bishop, if we can just make sure you come back to the motion which is on the LGID. I appreciate there's some other loosely associated things, but just try and stick with the report.
It's very integrated and lots of compelling matters on this site need to be considered. My concern today is not what Council might ultimately decide to build. My concern is that we're being asked to finalise the statutory planning framework before receiving the very information that Council previously agreed was necessary to help guide our future decisions. The consultation report also demonstrates why this additional work matters. While a number of submissions supported the proposal, the majority of submissions received had objections to the LGID, raising concerns about some of the environmental, heritage, process matters, traffic, water, energy, and the proposed whitewater facility. Regarding whether those concerns ultimately change the outcome, they demonstrate that the community expects Council to carefully consider these matters before moving to implementation. I'm also concerned that councillors have recently been briefed on a revised Birkdale Community Precinct Master Plan, yet that revised Master Plan has not yet been publicly adopted. I believe there should be clear and transparent relationship between the planning designation, the adopted master plan and the future implementation of the precinct, so that council, the community and future decision makers share a common understanding of what this designation is intended to support and what we can sustainably afford in a time of fiscal constraint. The greatest risk to the site is not that we fail to develop it. I believe the real risk is that we develop it before fully understanding, documenting and celebrating with our community what makes it so unique and valuable. The precinct does have huge potential to become one of Queensland's greatest civic landscapes. I think it already is. But because of the scale of the infrastructure, not because of the scale of the infrastructure, but because the quality of the stewardship and commitment to past, present and future values that remain intact on site and are part of our city's living identity. I believe our first responsibility is to ensure that delivering, sequencing, funding and future implementation are informed by all of those values that the community have identified as very important to them and that make this land worthy of public ownership in the first place. And if we do that, this precinct can become a lasting gift to past and present generations and to those who follow us, delivering a place that enriches our city while remaining environmentally, culturally and financially sustainable. And for reasons mentioned about the interdependencies and having clarity for the community and also around business cases for some of the elements related and the adherence to the master plan, I'm not yet satisfied that Council has received sufficient information to support noting this final LGID report today, and therefore I'll be withholding my support. Thank you.
Are the speakers for? That's great. With that, I think I might ask the appropriate General Manager just if they would like to make a comment. I gave Councillor Bishop quite a lot of leeway on the discussion there in speaking against. But is there any concerns from officers that by approving the LGID today, it will anyway have a negative impact on any further or preclude any information that might move forward coming in from future reports, those that are already done and those coming to us in the future? So.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to answer that for you. So the LGID as we've adopted it is a planning framework as facilitated by the Planning Act. The easiest way for you all and then the members of the community to reference it perhaps to some other more familiar planning processes. It's more akin to a preliminary approval. It's like of a planning scheme, a mini planning scheme of how the future development of the site will then develop. As you have done just in this meeting today and other meetings, you don't necessarily see all the detail when you develop a planning framework or the zoning or uses that might sit on a site. You have confidence that the planning process will facilitate those as you work your way through the levels of detail. That's true here for Birkdale. So the LGID that you're adopting has a list of approved uses that can be undertaken on that site. It has some controls and some conditions that have come from both the state as well as some conditions that council has and will impose upon itself that will guide and provide the bumper guards for or how that future development will then manifest. In terms of the detail of how the master plan, or as we would probably now start to call it, a plan of development, because we don't propose that we will ever change the master plan per se. We just continue to refine and improve the concepts from that was adopted in 2022 to now be a plan of development that's more engineering and construction driven as opposed to some of the ideation driven. But that will continue to evolve over time. So I don't have any concerns whatsoever in terms of the adopting this today would preclude or prevent or is out of sequence. All of the things that Councillor Bishop has raised are understood by officers, but we believe that this is the right order to do it. It's the kind of that funneling of planning decisions. We have the high order guidance now of the uses that would be allowed on site if you then vote on it in the affirmative in a second. And then we'll continue to work our way through the master planning accordingly. But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bishop? Again, just want to check. If it's a question that has been previously asked and answered, I will close it down. But if it's a new information, that's in the spirit I'm allowing it.
Yeah, well, the question the question relates to, as you know, I was wanting to put forward an alternative motion, which was regarding laying this on the table to allow that previous motion to come to us. My question to officers, for councillors who've not heard this answer, which I think is important, is that officers, I believe, are working on that information for that report to come back to us, and I would just like to understand when that information will be coming to us. Is there a time frame that officers can...
Order. That question does not relate to this motion, it relates to a previous motion.
But it relates to this site and this whole plan of proposal.
Councillors, please don't debate. You can let the chair respond, that's fine. I'll ask as chair, is there any expectation of timeline on the reports coming back to us?
Yeah, look, thank you, Chair, and through you to the councillor. So our officer view is that to answer the questions, or some of them anyway, in your notice of motion, we actually need this LGID that gives us and now locks in the uses that allow us to then go forward and do the more detailed analysis and planning. So I understand that your question, perhaps thinking, is that we're doing them the wrong way around. In fact, our view is when you actually look at the specific questions of your notice of motion, we can't answer those until we have the certainty and locking in. This provides, otherwise it would be an outstanding variable. This provides the certainty of the uses, gives us that control over planning that allows us to then provide that more detailed analysis. So we continue, this would be one of those pieces of that puzzle. We have the more detailed work underway in terms of responding to some of the other things which are influencing that, including the EPBC approval that we gained in June or in May. And our best endeavours to bring a report back at our earliest opportunity. Without putting it to a specific meeting, it will definitely be in the next 3 months.
Question, if I may?
Yeah, same rules or guidelines from the chair. Thank you, Councillor Baglari.
Chris, if I may. Chris, I tend to agree with Councillor Bishop, and everyone knows my concerns have always been the financial concerns. And recently the state government changed some conditions that they had on us, which is also going to increase costs to council. It says so in the report, I've forgotten what page. I was just wondering, when are we going to get like an updated business case, given the, since we all got excited out there on the day and put our dots on what we wanted and great anticipation in the community, so much has changed globally with restrictions and challenges on
Councillor, could you get your question, please?
Yeah, well, that was it. When is the business case, taking into account all those updated information, going to be presented, please?
So through the chair to the councillor, if I can just correct you, The state government has amended conditions which won't generate additional costs to council, specifically the amendments that you referenced they made. The amendments that they made are elements that we've had these conditions for nearly 24 months now. What we have articulated in the report is the general imposition of conditions by the state will result in additional costs to council, but just to specifically clarify, not necessarily the amendments that they've just recently made as you articulated.
Sorry, just got here, the additional costs is what I was referring to.
No, understood. I understand that that may raise a concern for you and the members of the community that the state is imposing additional costs upon council, but probably what I would clarify is that the state, through their concurrence agency or their state interest check, they do this on every single DA where you cross over or check a state interest. They will always impose conditions upon private developers and other people. They do it through our planning scheme. You go through a state interest check that requires you to demonstrate how you meet. They've done that now through this LGID process. For us to implement that, we will need to meet some state requirements of different pieces of legislation, but that's true for our planning scheme too. So if you take the logic that we're incurring costs because of the state requirements, we would do that as would our constituents on every single DA because we have to meet state requirements. So I don't think you or the community should infer that the state is imposing costs upon council to implement the LGID. What the costs are is just for us to meet and maintain the matters of state interest that we're legally obligated to do, as would a private entity if they were developing this site for any other use. So where we've articulated in the report there may be some additional costs, that might be for a matter council has, by way of example, a level that we maintain bushfire and conservation reserves for bushfire protection. The state may have a higher level that they would expect that to be done to manage some of their state interests. That would include, by way of example, that they have conditioned us to build all buildings to a minimum bushfire rating. Now, we as a council may chosen not to do that. We might have said that, say, a public toilet might be a sacrificial element. It would be okay for it if in an extreme fire event, but they've conditioned buildings to be built to a higher fire resilience level. That will incur additional costs. That is to meet a state standard. So those are what we're trying to articulate in the report in terms of additional costs. It's not and shouldn't be inferred that we're incurring additional costs in particular to deliver or participate in the infrastructure that will support the precinct and the Whitewater venue, as an example.
Sorry if I may, I was also referring to, I mean, there was more than bushfire mitigation that they were talking about as well. They were also talking about the bus drop-off zones and everything else that we have to supply. The updated business case, given that the changes in costs and everything have escalated over the last 4 or 5 years since the last one, when can we expect that to have more of an idea of the financial impact?
So, Councillor, I think where officers are on a slightly different view is that I think, and I won't put words in your mouth, the escalating costs that you refer to are construction costs for the delivery of...
Separate to what? Yeah, separate to the state. Yeah. This now, the basic updated business case for the whole project. When can we expect that?
We are working on updated financial modelling for primarily the swimming lagoon and its interrelationship with the Whitewater venue, which partly responds to Councillor Bishop's notice of motion.
Yep.
As well as a business case and investment decision that we will be bringing to council for the swimming lagoon in its own right. If those are the business case that you're referring to, those will be coming.
Sorry, I thought we were doing an update through the chair. I thought we were doing an updated one for the Whitewater rafting facility at some stage.
Council, I understand. I don't quite understand the question because it's being built and delivered. I'm not sure what the business case would achieve if...
The ongoing operational cost to council.
That's in Councillor Baglaria. I think we're getting a little off the LGID report to...
Oh, it's just that I'm uncomfortable voting for this and the going... I totally want... I know it's
to enable the precinct,
milestone and I want to enable it. I know all that. But I'm very uncomfortable with what costs are, especially the enabling infrastructure that council has to supply.
Noted.
And the ongoing operational costs. And I'm feeling if I vote for this today, some of that work will be included in it, but I don't know what the costs are to us. So that's why I'm uncomfortable.
I'm happy to quickly add. Look, we'll bring that report back in the next couple of months, as I said, in the next 3 months that we'll cover. It'll be part of the decision around the investment into the swimming lagoon. It'll consider the two elements concurrently, how the whitewater and the swimming lagoon and the operating model of how that will move forward will be considered. So that will be part of an upcoming decision that we made to council. But for clarity, as we've consistently reported in this chambers over many years, is that the financial model, which we don't believe has fundamentally changed, demonstrates that the whitewater venue in its own right will generate multi-million dollars of profit. That there is not a need for the concern that you have in terms of the operating costs and the burden that it might place upon ratepayers, but we will provide that and update it for you all in the coming months.
Question, Councillor Colley? Same rule. Question that hasn't been answered. No. Thank you.
Yeah, through you to the General Manager for Infrastructure and Operations, just to address the potential cost implications of supporting the LGID today. There will be the future decisions of council which will be required to determine any budget allocation. This LGID today does not place any additional financial burden with the decision today on council, does it?
No, that's correct, Councillor, and perhaps in the inverse, the inability to progress the LGID will prevent us from starting to activate the precinct and actually generate revenue. By way of example is that we can't commence bookings at Willard's Farm for weddings and functions and concerts until such a time as we have the LGID that gives us the planning head of power. So if we can't resolve this and progress it, we'll actually have the opposite. It'll actually result in a financial disbenefit for the organisation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to comment. I'd just like to really thank all the officers, and councillors for their questions today, their engagement on this very significant project over quite some time. There's a lot of information. It is a big project, and our oversight and questioning is what the community will expect. So I'm happy that that's happening, and our community should feel confident with that. So with that, Councillor Colley, I think you used it. Would you like to sum up?
I will, thank you, Chair. The Planning Act of 2016 includes provisions for local governments to declare infrastructure designations. This is not a new process. This is not a special power which has been enacted for this precinct to progress. In fact, Schedule 5 of Part 2 of the Planning Regulations 2017 covers the provisions around how local government infrastructure designations work. LGIDs and the planning processes are limited to being used for a defined list of typically government or service type uses, and those uses, as I mentioned earlier in my earlier speaking for this, are clearly defined there, and they do give the use rights, so to speak, once approved. It also is important to note again that the conditions from state agencies and additional conditions applied by Redland City Council relating to key site values like environmental, cultural and heritage values are protected through the conditions of this decision notice. In relation to financial costs, I think that if we are serious about being financially responsible about this precinct and its development, we look to move it forward instead of delaying in an environment where we know that construction costs continue to rise. So again, I thank you, officers, for the great work that you've done with this process, which has been ongoing for many years and has been very thorough, like I suggested earlier, and I thank councillors for their support, hopefully, for continuing to progress to ensure that we can deliver this important precinct for our community.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, we'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those in favour. Councillor Hughes online. Councillor Colley, Councillor McKenzie, Councillor Tolte, Councillor Rendells, Councillor Mitchell. Those against? Councillor Baglari, Councillor
Against.
Sorry, Councillor Hewlett, are you against?
Yes, I'm against. Thank you.
Against. That motion is carried. Moving on. And we have no notices of intention to repeal or amend resolutions. There are no notice of motions for today's meeting. I'm unaware of any urgent business. So that brings us to confidential items. We'll now move to the confidential section of the agenda. If Council wishes to discuss a matter in closed session, Council must first resolve to close the meeting in accordance with Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012. The Councillors wish to close the meeting to discuss the following confidential item, which is 19.1, the appointment of councillors to the CEO Performance Appraisal Panel. So yes, Councillor Mackenzie, you would. Yes, there's more than one councillor. So we will be moving into confidential. Therefore, can I have a mover that the item 19.1, appointment of councillors to the Chief Executive Officer Performance Appraisal Panel, be discussed in closed session to discuss the appointment of councillors to the Chief Executive Officer Performance Appraisal Panel. The matter is considered to be confidential as it deals with industrial matters affecting employees. The mover, Councillor Bishop, seconder, Councillor Mackenzie, and I note the CEO, as a complicated matter, is not in the room. It will not return to the room till the motion is declared. Yes, so we've moved in. So, therefore, have I missed something? My apologies. Yeah, I had a seconder of Councillor Mackenzie. Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, yes. So the motion I need to put, so I need to put the motion that it is a confidential matter. Sorry, so I'll go back. So just to be clear, this is, we had a mover was Councillor Bishop, seconder was Councillor Mackenzie, and this is to vote to move into confidential, that the matter is confidential. So those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, that's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Now I'll follow this again. So now the motion to move into closed session. Can I have a mover and seconder that the meeting now moves into closed session to discuss item 19.1? Move Councillor Bishop, seconded Councillor Tolti. Those in favour?
Yes.
Councillor
Yes.
Hughes? That is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Hang on, Peter. Hang on. You there? Yes. Understanding with myself and Councillor and Lance online, I understand we're going to be receiving emails. So perhaps while you have a break, thank you, Warwick.
just want to say those photos scare me.
Yeah, and I didn't mention the dogs, because when I was in Greece, it was like 10,000 cats were roaming. The dogs, I can't convey to you that they're called street dogs. They're just everywhere, like literally by the thousands.
What is the whole city in Off-Leash area, is it?
Yeah, it's yeah, it's the simplicity is so beautiful, but not a set of traffic lights, no road rules.
Did you have your vaccinations before you went there?
Oh yeah, it cost about $700 of vaccinations. Yeah, I had them over a month, like that many.
So what time do you go to bed? Is there anything to do at night? Or it's just everything go black?
Because it's dinner is at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Last night it was midnight. The alarm was set for 4 a.m. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so completely different, but yeah, to stop the car and throw your bag of rubbish out onto the side of the street defies my logic.
We'll have to get some CCTV cameras over there.
Yeah.
Anyway, safe travels. I'm glad I'm not you actually, but anyway, goes well.
Yeah, but it's so humbling experience. So this is where our local parish priest in Birkdale and Alex Hills comes from. So that's the connection.
Oh, is it a fairly Christian community, is it?
Yes. Although, in saying that, this area is here, yes, indeed, but overall, India is Hindu.
Oh, okay.
Hindu, Muslim, and then Christian overall, but here in this village, it's Catholic.
And you're doing Sri Lanka on the way back, aren't you? Okay, sorry, Pete.
Hang on, please say that again.
Okay, thank you.
Say again. Okay. vote on it, or can we just
I suggest going 1, 2, 3 as described because it's getting too complicated.
All good. Okay, councillors back online. Can I have a mover and a seconder that the meeting proceedings resume? Councillor Bishop first, Councillor Colley seconder. Those in favour?
Yes.
Those online?
Yes.
Confirmed that's unanimous. Right, so we move to item 19.1, the appointment of councillors to the Chief Executive Officer Performance Appraisal Panel. Do I have a mover? Councillor Mackenzie, seconded. Councillor Tolchi. Councillor Mackenzie, for the benefit of those at home, could you please, would you like to read the motion out?
Thank you. In line with Section 12(4)(d) of the Local Government Act 2009, that Council resolves as follows: to appoint 2 councillors, being Councillor Peter Mitchell and Councillor Shane Rendells, and 1 proxy councillor, being Councillor Paul Bishop, to the Chief Executive Officer Performance Appraisal Panel for the term of the current Council, and that this report remains confidential, subject to maintaining the confidentiality of legally privileged private and commercial in confidence information, noting that the other 2 persons on the panel are reserved for the position of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
With that, there's no further debate. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Yes.
Councillor Hughes? Yep, confirmed. So that is
Yes, support.
unanimous. Thank you, everyone. That is the end of our meeting today, and as Spain achieved this morning, a champion team will be the team of champions. So thank you, everyone, and for the meeting. It was a good team effort and very efficient. Reminder for you all: if you have yet signed the attendance, please do so. And with that, I'll close the meeting at 12:05, Wednesday, 15th June. Thank you.